my good buddy Peter Schiff here, who I have a love and hate relationship with. I
Yeah.
hate his short-term views, but I like his long-term views. He is a great economist for
Oh, yeah, there
long-term
we go. Yeah.
macro stuff. So
Debt.
he pointed out this week the national debt just surpassed 34.5 trillion. And when we were doing these videos a couple months ago, I was talking about how it hit 33 trillion. Now it's 34.5 trillion. Like these guys at the government, they just keep spending. And I wish I could buy a stock that represented the US debt. This is the most
Yeah,
bullish
good. I'm glad you
chart,
have this chart. Yeah.
right? This is the most bullish chart I've ever seen in my life. I wish I could buy call options on this. Like it just goes up. Look, you know how much money
Yeah.
I'd make if I could buy options on this? So, it only goes up. Like the last time I was showing how we went to 33 trillion over here, and now it's going up again over here. And I'm just like, oh my God, like it just keeps going up and there's no stopping.
Yeah, and let me just put
And
this into perspective for people. A trillion, that's a lot of zeros. A billion is a lot of zeros. So a trillion is 1,000 billion. So like when it goes up 1.5 trillion, it's like, whatever. Like that's not much in relation to whatever. Like there's 34 trillion. What's one and a half? But 1.5 trillion is a ton of money, especially when interest rates are high and you have to pay interest on that.
yeah. Yeah, now another thing I want to point
What a
out here too
chart.
is, so this is the 80s and the 90s, and you'll notice there's a certain angle here it was going up on, okay?
Oh yeah.
Then in the 2000s, it got sharper. Then after 2008, it got sharper. And now it's going up like crazy. It keeps going sharper and sharper and sharper to the upside. If you notice, it's kind of just curling upwards and becoming more exponential.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal because, maybe we were rising at like 5 or 10% or something every few years here. Then it became more aggressive. Then it became more aggressive. Now it's like we're going up 10% every 6 months or something. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so this is going to keep going higher, and that's going to keep being negative for the purchasing power of our dollar. So it's a really important thing to be aware of. And right now, I mean, we could look up articles for Canada on this too, but like in America and Canada and probably Europe and other places, credit card and auto loan delinquencies are rising. So, when you run out of automatic money from stimulus checks and stocks and cryptos back in 2021, a lot of people maybe gave up on things and they had to pay their mortgage and their high interest rates. Your credit card got loaded up. Now, eventually, you can't even pay the credit card or you can't even pay your car payment because you're trying to scramble every month to
Yeah.
pay your debt. Now, that's not everyone listening. That's not me. That's not Mike. But there's a bunch of people in society that it's affecting, you
Yeah.
know? And there's been some job losses and different things that people have experienced as well. So this is all negative stuff, folks. And, when we're looking at this stuff, it's not doom and gloom. And we're not trying to say that we're going to have a crash. But, this stuff right now, we have inflation going up, which is, not great because now they're probably going to lower rates at a later time now, right? We'd probably prefer that they lower rates sooner so that consumers can afford their credit card bills and their car payments and their mortgages more actually. But
Yeah.
if they were to lower the rates right now, inflation's already going up now. Imagine how much
Yeah.
it'll go up if they lower rates. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, they're raising debt to the value of the dollar. It's a double whammy, and it's really screwing over the people for the actions of the government. And I don't like that, but that's the situation we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like one thing impacts another thing, and it just seems like a cycle, and it's just cascading, and debt like keeps going up. So when the government owes a lot of money and interest rates are high, they have to go print more money to pay for their debt. Then when they raise when they print more money, it devalues the dollar, which leads to inflation, and then it's just an ongoing cycle. And then like it's just the chart that Mike showed with the debt going up. You saw the different the it started this way, then it went like this, and now like like it's just kind of a
It's
preview
going,
of
it's going, it's going
where.
from a smooth airplane trajectory to a rocket ship now. Like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
flying straight up
yeah,
now. And I don't know. I mean, The thing is, I know a lot of people that are in the money managing business, and you talk to people out of their clients who own homes and who have loans and stuff. They just keep taking on more loans over the years, and if your house
Yeah.
goes up a little more, you take another loan and you spend it on stuff.
Yeah.
And it's worked until the rates went up. And now that the rates went up, you have this ticking time bomb of all these mortgages and lines of credit and credit cards and these things that you could tolerate before. But
Yeah.
now you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
And again, it's not everyone watching or anything, but there's a lot of
A
people in
lot of
Canada,
people.
America, and Europe that are in that situation.
Yeah. And the interest rates didn't go up slow. Like this was like probably record
Record.
interest rate hikes in a short period of time. And if you're already kind of barely getting by, any increase hurts. But when you're increasing as fast as they did, you can get in the hole real quick. So
And that's part of why we created this Real Wealth brand. And, our motto is live life well. It's not just about earning a lot of money to have fancy things. If you want to do some of that, that's okay. I
yeah,
have some nice guitars and people, whatever you want, that's cool. But, me and Mike really don't have any debt. We're just making money and we really don't have much debt. And I think that maybe this is a gut check for a lot of people that were taught rates will always be low forever and
yeah,
you can just have a bunch of debt obligations
yeah,
because you'll always be okay. That's really not true. And although maybe rates will come down again soon, now we've been kind of smacked on the wrist and taught that rates won't always be low. So I
reality.
think that you want to create a good life balance so
Yeah,
that you don't end up in trouble during times like this where you're stressed out. And, we're not stressed out right now because
yeah,
we're not in that position.
yeah. And I do have debt, but there's good debt and bad debt. So I
Yes.
read Rich Dad Poor Dad like 20 years ago. A lot of people that are invested in real estate as well, and people in investing, like some debt is like, I guess I can go get a Lambo now if I want, but I will take on debt. When I have debt, then I have to pay that debt somehow. So maybe I would have to go back to my job to be able to afford the Lambo. And now that I'm back at my job, now I don't have time to actually get out and drive the Lambo, right? Whereas if you went and got a loan at, let's just for ease of numbers, at 5%, and then I went out and found an investment that pays 10%, that's a smart investment as long as you've done your risk analysis on that. Like now you're plus on that, and you get to use the interest that you paid on the loan to offset the income you've made as a tax advantage there. So there's a lot of cool strategies that you can kind of play around with and things like that. So we like to look back in history. We like to see patterns and trends and just see what's going on in the macro world, because having a better understanding of what does it mean when more money gets printed? What does it mean when interest rates go up? What impact does that have on stocks? What impact does that have on the price of bacon? Right? Like this all, and what, how big is the cheese bar that you're getting? Right?
Yeah.
It's good to know this stuff because not too long ago, I just thought, wow, prices just go up here or there. I never really thought about like money the way I do now, in that if I left $10 in my bank account now, in 5 years, the $10 doesn't go as far as it did back then. I wouldn't be able to buy as much. And understanding inflation and the impact it all kind of ties into all, that trajectory of the debt that's going on in the US and interest rate. Yeah. So
The
just,
nice, the
we
nice
want to
thing
just
about
start
this
with that.
too, the nice
Yeah.
thing about this, Mike, is that like by following us here, not everyone's going to have the time or interest to follow this stuff, but we're doing it, and the
Yeah.
people we're following are doing it. Many of them are economists,
Yeah.
and even during the pandemic, I was telling people everyone's getting all these loans and these gains on their portfolios, and then they're borrowing from it to buy cars and renovate their house and go on fancy vacations, and that's cool until it's not. And when they raised rates, I already had that in mind. People took on more debt in a quick amount of time during the pandemic than ever before. We had
Yeah.
record low interest rates, and the banks were just handing out money to people. And I mean, Mike, I'm sure you're aware of this. People all around us were taking out lines of credit for hundreds of thousands of dollars and just blowing it on stuff. And,
Yeah.
to each their own. But when the rates go up, the chicken, everything comes home to roost.
Yeah.
And I don't wish that upon anyone, but I see it happening, and I'm saying to myself in 2021, what's going to happen if Ray Dalio is right and we go into stagflation and they raise the rates? Now we're here,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people in bad situations, and hopefully we can help guide people into some better situations going forward.
Yeah, so like Mikey said earlier, one of the reasons we wanted to create this channel was just to help take what we're learning and help kind of fast track people that want to learn this stuff.